All right, and then we're live. Good morning, devoted geeks. This is Dallas here, Geek Devotions, show for a couple of devoted geeks, devoted to let people know that they're loved. And this is our Extra Tuesday. It's another live edition. You guys seem to enjoy these, is from what I've been told or what I understand. So that's the reason we're doing it this way, is because you guys like it. So at least I think you like it. If you don't like it, let me know, and I will apologize for doing these so often. Forgive me while I kind of get some stuff together here. Today's broadcast, we are talking about a little something different. We're going to be talking about, what's the word I'm looking for? We're talking about whether or not you can be a geeky and Christians, or Christians and geeky. You know, what that all looks like. Now, I'm sure that most of you guys are looking at me going, Dallas, you run a whole YouTube channel ministry based around this fact that you can be geeky and Christian. As I drink my Doctor Who coffee. Yeah, so it can happen. It's something you can definitely do, at least in my opinion. But at the same time, sometimes there's a doubt in people's minds. For some reason, people, what's the word I'm looking for? They struggle. Yeah, I think that's the word I'm looking for. They struggle with the concept of being geeky and Christian at the same time. And I understand. I really do understand some of the struggle with that mentality. You know, how can this be a thing? Especially when there seems to be so much in geek culture that is not Christian or almost anti-Christian, almost anti-Christal in a fashion. I'm not really sure that's the proper way of saying that, but that's really what it is. And so how do we balance these things out? How do we work these things out? Let me post up one quick thing on Facebook real quick for people joining on the conversation. Let's see here. Can you be a Christian? Oh, better capitalize. Use proper grammar-ish. Christian and a geek. And it's going out. Post. I'm going to send this out to one more place. And then we're going to get to the conversation aspect of this. I'm really glad you guys are hanging out. If you're watching this on the rebroadcast, you're going to want maybe fast forward just a couple of steps, and we'll be hitting this really hard and heavy here in just a second in the conversation. If you're joining the chat room, I want you to do me a favor, leave some comments in the chat box down the side, and let me know your thoughts as we have this conversation. If you're watching this on the rebroadcast, leave comments, guys. Talk to us. Talk to me about your thoughts on this subject, because this is something that affects a lot of us that are Christians, you know. And it's not just the geeky community. You have other communities. Can you be a sporty person and geeky? Can you be, you know, a real down to earth hunting person or a cowboy? All these stuff. Can you be these things and be a Christian? One more post. Can you be a Christian and a geek? Boom, baby. There we go. Alright, now that all my posting is done. Now that everything's up there and out, let's see what kind of mayhem I can stir up with this conversation. Because for some reason, it causes issues. I'm not really sure why it causes issues. Some people they really freak out about these conversations. So, a couple of weeks ago, it's probably been close to a month now, Celeste and I had done a podcast, and we kind of gave the backstory behind Geek Devotions and how we started, why we started doing what we do as Geek Devotions. Some of it was inspired by events that took place at GeekCon a couple years ago. We're standing in line, we're hanging out, we're having great conversation with people, because let's be honest, part of the experience of being at a con is being in line with people for, you know, at least an hour before the event starts. I can imagine San Diego where they're camping out ahead of time. But we're hanging out, and these people show up, and again, and you go listen to the podcast, Comm Talk by Geek Devotions. Comm Talk is 2 words and it's two M's. But these people show up, and go listen to the podcast for the full story. But they basically start preaching and everything, but it goes sideways real quick and not encouraging, and it's not really a glorifying Christ in my personal opinion. And so Celeste and I were like, man, we've got to do something. We're in line with these people, and there's this stuff going on, and we being in the culture, being geeks ourselves, we understand the language, and so we started Geek Devotions out of this, and it's been a fun ride. We're on the second year. We're in sequel month, obviously, but over the last over the year and a month of us doing this, and even beforehand when we were in the playing stages, we got questions on a regular basis of, is this really a thing? Is this really necessary? Can you balance the two out? And I stand on the ground saying yes, you can balance these things out. This past summer, I had the opportunity to speak with a gentleman, a really great guy, super great youth pastor. He's doing some amazing stuff in inner cities down South Louisiana, and I mean, just a superb gentleman. I really love this guy a lot. I did some artwork for him a couple years ago for his ministry and whatnot. But he's challenged by what Celeste and I do, and he's like, look, man, I see what you're doing, and I kind of get the concept, but how do you balance out some of the stuff, the junking culture in your walk with Christ? And he has some kids that are in his youth ministry they're struggling with life, and they're in really bad times, but they're really into anime, and he just doesn't understand some of the stuff with anime. He doesn't understand some of the cultural references and just some of the filth that's in some of the stuff that's out there in some animes. And so I'm talking with him, and the first thing I brought to him was in Philippians chapter 2, and it's going to be over here in verse 12. Verse 12. Here we go. And this is Paul, and he's talking to the church in Philippi, and he's exhorting them, and he's challenging them, and he just finished his exhortation about an example of Christ's humility, the humbleness of Christ, and how he became human, and all these great things. And let me back up actually. Verse 9. Therefore God has highly exalted him, bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so that at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth. I am butchering this reading for some reason today. Verse 11. And every tongue confess that Jesus is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. I'm reading from the ESV version, by the way, in case some of you guys are looking at this. Now here we go. Verse 12 says this. Therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, so now, not only as in my presence, but much more in my absence, work out your own salvation in fear and trembling. For it is God who works in you, both to will and to work for his good pleasure. And so I look at this passage, and for me, as I read through it and I try to understand what Scripture is saying, what that really tells me is that our walk with God is an individual basis. Not saying that there's no black and whites, but rather that you as an individual have to walk this out. You have to get in the Scriptures on your own. You have to be in prayer. You have to be seeking the Lord. And as you do these things, he will do a work in your life. He will speak to you, and he will show you what to do, what not to do. Again, there are some definite black and whites. You got your top 10 list of do's and do nots. You know what I'm talking about? The 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill. All those other good things. But outside of that, and outside of the things that Christ just let out, like, look, this is it. For example, Scripture says, Jesus said, look, in the law it says that, if you commit adultery, that's wrong. But I'm paraphrasing this like crazy right now. But Jesus then says, but I say that if you look at another one with lust in your heart, you've already committed adultery. So we do have an example of Jesus taking things up a notch in the responsibility of you as the believer to walk out your faith. But that being said, it's still a responsibility on you to walk these things out. It's not the responsibility of somebody else to go, hey, this is da-da-da. Yes, there is need for teaching and exhortation. Yes, you do need mentors in your life to come and say, look, man, this is wrong. There's a standard, and you're walking. You've off base. You've left fielded. Jesus taking to 11. Absolutely, Francisco. And hey, man, welcome to the chat. I appreciate you being here with us. But there is an aspect of us owning our own faith and working out in fear and trembling and understanding. I believe that we see a lot of the issues that we see in the world today, especially of Christians just kind of going way left field and losing things. It's a matter of they've lost their identity in Christ. I'm not saying that they've lost salvation or anything like that, but I'm saying is they've forgotten who they are. They're not being the son or daughter that God's called them to be. And because they're not being that, they don't know what he's saying. And so if you as an individual are taking time to be in the scriptures, to be in prayer, to worship the Father, and operating as a son and daughter, then you will learn to know what he's saying. And then outside of that, you'll do it, if that makes sense to you. And so, coming back to our original topic, I'm talking to my friend there about how he's telling me, he doesn't see the balance between the two. I was like, look, man, everyone has, as an individual, we have our things that we can and cannot handle. For me, music is kind of a big trigger for me. I don't know what it is, but if I love music and it surrounds me all the time. But I found myself in a place where I was listening to an excessive amount of secular music, and there's some stuff that was just really filthy and foul, and it was affecting my walk with God. So I was like, look, I got to cut this off, and so I did. Everybody needs to do that. Not everybody had the need to do that. I had the need to do that. I had to say, I'm going to cut this off because it's affecting my walk with God. And I believe that we have biblical precedents for this. In 1 Corinthians chapter 8, Paul is talking to the church in Corinth, and he's talking about dealing with the food sacrificed by the idols. And he's telling them, oh, hey, Michael's talking. Personally, I think it's also important to think about what had to happen to create that geeky art. True story. For instance, supporting something that with intense sexual content means that someone else had to engage in sexual content. True story. And that's right. We have to think about all these aspects. Very true. But back to 1 Corinthians 8, Paul's talking to them, and he's like, look, there's nothing inherently wrong about this meat that's been sacrificed to an idol. You can't eat it. However, there seems to be a flip around on this passage. There's another aspect that Paul goes, all right, yeah, you're fine, but. And I love when he does that because it makes us as individuals think and start to go, okay, what is the heart of what I'm doing here? And before I go into that portion, I want to preface it with this. I see a lot of people in the world, a lot of Christians, who walk out in the liberty of Christ and the freedom of Christ, doing things that they know that other people dislike or they have convictions about, and they seem to almost flaunt it with pride. A great hot topic button is dealing with alcohol. Should a Christian drink or not drink? Should a pastor drink or not drink? What does that look like? Most recently, we had the experience where Justin Bieber was was throwing back a couple shots with a pastor in Australia. Is that okay? Why was a pastor drinking? People were freaking out, and I understand that. Me personally, I hold to the standard where I will not drink at all. I look at the scriptures, and it says about being sober-minded and not allowing yourselves to be in a position where you can't think properly, especially as a minister. And I go, I'm not going to do that. Plus, on the top side, there's a history of alcoholism in my family, and I've seen where that goes, and I'm not going to open that door for my personal life. So I've shut those doors. But this is a hot topic for a lot of people. And when I see some Christians that are out there that are they walk in the freedom because they feel like they can drink. They look at the scriptures, they exegete them in certain ways, and they go, look, I believe I have the ability to drink alcohol and it's okay. But what then I see happening is some of them take it to an extent and they're almost like, yes, that's right, I'm drinking a beer, and they're flaunting it. They're almost like, looking to egg somebody on and go, hey, you're going to say something? You're going to say something? And it's becoming a taunt. And it's no longer a matter of them walking in freedom, but now it's become a tool of, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost as if it's like hey, let me just poke the beast and ruffle some feathers up. And that's not what Paul gives freedom to do. In fact, in the first part of 1 Corinthians 8, which is something that a lot of people who, use when they're defending some stuff that is sometimes controversial, it says this: now concerning food offered to idols, we know that all of us possess knowledge. This knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. And then he goes into the aspect of eating food, and therefore it's it's not really bad. There's really nothing wrong with it. But then you drop down to verse 7. Okay, check this out. Verse 7 is where we're at, and I'm clicking back and forth between the comment section. It says this: However, not all possess this knowledge, but some, through former association with idols, eat food as really offered to an idol, and their conscience, being weak, is defiled. Food will not condemn us to God. We are no worse off if we do not eat, and no better off if we do. But take care that this right of yours does not somehow become a stumbling block to the weak. And that friends, is the rub. That's the aspect that I feel like that a lot of people are missing out with their walk with God, and then taking, whether it's their geekiness or whether maybe they're hunters or maybe they're athletic or whatever it is, their culture that they're in on a regular basis. And if they're dealing with other people outside of the culture, maybe even, but we're not conscious of the fact that it's a stumbling block for the person that we're with, then we're in the wrong. Does that make sense? We're in the wrong. So, for example, let's say that there's a geeky show or a movie that you're really, really into, and you know for a fact that there are things about that or things that are in it that you have friends that struggle with deeply, and they're like, man, they just can't handle it. Don't invite them over for a viewing party. You hear what I'm saying? Don't invite them over for a viewing party, because then you are putting them in a position to fail. And that's not right. That's not appropriate. You know, and my brain stopped functioning. We just can't do that. We can't open doors for people to fail. That's inappropriate. So, can you be a geeky and a Christian? Can you be a geeky Christian? Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I believe that we have lots of presence to be able to do several things and operate in wisdom. That being said, we have to do it in wisdom. We have to think about what we're saying and how we do it. And we have to think about the ramifications of those things that we say and do, because they have lasting effect on people in eternity. I'll give you a great example. I have several friends that are really into Dungeons and Dragons, and automatically those of you who are over the age of like 30 right now are freaking out. Oh my God, he said Dungeons and Dragons, and he's going to hell. But I have some friends that they're really into it. They're Christians. They serve the Lord. They're faithful. They're leaders in their churches, wherever they're at, and they don't see an issue with playing role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot, because they understand it's fantasy. This isn't real magic. However, I was talking with a friend of mine a couple years ago who was running a game, and I've never actually played D&D, so I don't know all the terminology. So if you're a D&D-er, I apologize if I butcher the description of these things. But he was running a game, and somebody wanted to invite a kid over, and they're like, okay, sure. And well, the problem is the kid had issues with some stuff. He struggled with legitimate witchcraft. He struggled with certain things, and so it became a doorway for him to do stuff that wasn't right. Now, there's some people who go, right there, we should shut it all down. Should never have any of this stuff happening, ever, 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 ever. But guys, we have a history in the church of taking these pendulum swings where we're super anti-everything or we're super free everything. So, with that being said now, I've already said that we can be geeky and we can be a Christian, but we need to keep balance in our lives. Don't just need to throw things left and right, because in that same D&D group, there were people who didn't serve the Lord. They weren't Christians. They didn't go to church. This regular meeting of getting together playing D&D was an open door for non-Christians to come in, be exposed to Christians, to be exposed to godly people, hear the gospel in a different way, and then come to know the Lord. If they had shut down that thing because of one kid, which legitimately, the kid got some help later, and they walked him through some stuff, and he's doing well, serving the Lord, bless God. But the door for the others would have been shut down completely also. So we had to be cognitive of what we do. Celeste and I, we go to cons and we just love on people. We walk around and we interview the cosplayers at GeekCon, and we hung out and we got to know people, and it was a lot of fun, and it was just a blast. But the most important thing was it was a doorway for us to love on people. to show them Christ, to show them something different. In fact, we met a young lady. She was actually one of the vendors, and oh man, what was her name? Wonder and Thieves, I think was her thing. And we got to talk with her, and she is a Christian. She's a PK, but she shared with us later that, you know, part of the reason why she did this, she wanted to show that you can be in this world and be Christian, and she was very different. You know, you walk around and some of the cosplayers, they're not dressed quite appropriately. It was kind of, you know, ooh, okay, avert your eyes. But she, you know, she was like this hipster poison ivy. It was really cool and really neat, and I appreciated that, and it drew Celeste and I too. It was like, hey, you're different. And at first we didn't know she was a Christian, but there is something about when someone who is a son or daughter of Christ, of God, and they're doing what they're supposed to do, and they're being a light, there's an attraction that draws you to them. And we were drawn to her, and later we realized it was because she's a Christian, because she serves the Lord, and she's doing something different to reach people. And I'm like, you're awesome. So, all that said, I feel like I'm now getting to the point where I'm rambling, guys. If anybody's got any last minute things to say in our our live chat, go ahead and say it. A couple quick commercial-like items. Don't forget to check out Friday's episode of Geek Devotions. It was a lot of fun, and it's live. There should be one of the cards. The card, I think it's right over here, maybe. There should be a thing for sequel month where you see all the episodes for sequel month, and also for season 2 and Comm Talk and all that good stuff. Check out Comm Talk. Celeste and I did kind of a recap of some of our favorite things about GeekCon from this past week. Next Extra Tuesday, we're going to be talking about GeekCon. It's going to be kind of my highlight reel with interviews and whatnot. And then also, great stuff. Thank you for talking about this. Yeah, man, no worries, Mike. I appreciate you being part of our show, man. It was great meeting you at GeekCon too, and talking with you guys and hanging out a little bit here and there. But Friday's episode of Geek Devotions is going to be awesome. Our friend Takun, she did a fantastic job with Geek Devotions, and she's going to be on our show again. So we're super excited about that. And finally, guys, don't forget about our You Caring campaign that Celeste and I have going on right now. We're trying to raise funds so we can take Geek Devotions to level 2. What does that mean? It means we need to get some equipment. It means that I'm tired of Celeste and I. The way we do things is to do this show and edit it and everything. Either I have to get up and be at church early in the morning, or I spend late nights at the church editing. And while I don't mind doing that, and we normally get stuff done, we wanted to be able to do more things for the channel, for you guys, for the Facebook page. But I want to spend time with my wife, and she wants to spend time with me. And if we can do it from the house, all the better. And so we're trying to raise some funds so we can get at least a new computer. We have the goal set for $3,000 right now. And what the $3,000 does is it covers a new computer for us, a new camera for us. Nothing extravagant. We're looking at getting either a Canon 6 Ti or a used Canon 70D. It gets us some lights, and I've forgotten a couple other things we had listed up there that we needed. If we can just get at least $1,500, cover the computer, and that will make things so much better for us. So that being said, guys, I hope you know that we love you, we appreciate you, and appreciate you being part of this devoted geek community. Make sure you check out all our social media: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Obviously here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, and also be on the lookout, because here in the next couple of weeks we're going to be starting something new on Facebook, where we're going to have retro episodes posted on a fairly regular basis on the Facebook page. So season 2 will start being loaded up natively to Facebook on Facebook, and the advantage of that is it allows you guys to share it with your friends in a Facebook native format, so it's easier for people to see, and it's not just, oh, I'm going off site all of a sudden, or they're opening up to another app. And also allows people to comment and take part in the conversation. So that's it, guys. Hope you have a fantastic day. Remember that we love you. Peace and love, and stay devoted. Oh, I can't find my thing. Here we go. I love you guys. Peace and love.